Today I'm showing you what makes this the most underrated country for rail travel in the world, and why you should make these bullet trains a feature of your next trip to Europe, as I take you with me on my journey from Istanbul to Ankara in Turkey's excellent new high-speed train in first class. While we sit back and hope to reach top speeds of 250 kilometers an hour, we'll discuss just what about these things impressed me so much, the range of destinations that you can visit with them, and their mind-blowing ticket prices, as well as the ultimate reason behind me being in such a hurry to make it to Ankara in the first place. It's my first visit to Istanbul, and I'm very quickly learning that on top of being a blend of European and Asian, East and West, ancient and modern, this place is very much a tale of two train stations. And I've deliberately gone out of my way to catch a glimpse of the first of them by taking a stroll along the Bosphorus Strait before my train leaves. This is Haydarpaşa station. Covering over 4,000 square meters and blending baronial and Gothic influences, this building is an icon of Istanbul. But it hasn't served any trains in over a decade. It was originally conceived to connect Constantinople with Baghdad, the Ottoman capital. Yes, that's how far back this thing goes. Its run from 1872 to a devastating fire in 2010 was what we'd call back in England a very good innings, after which it at times seemed likely to be torn down to sell the land for development. The good news is that it was recently confirmed that the restoration work is going well and that trains eastward to Ankara will be leaving from here again soon. But they still have to go from somewhere in the meantime, and for now that's the second station that I wanted to show you. It's not a bad walk there, just a short detour inland taking you not only right past the Fenerbahce Stadium, but also through an underpass featuring the world's largest collection of authentic football merchandise. And out of that tunnel, you eventually walk under this highway overpass, before realizing, hang on a minute, this highway overpass is actually the train station that I'm looking for. Yes, it doesn't look like much from the outside, and yes, going from this to this for such a long time is arguably an even bigger fumble than New York City going from Penn Station to Penn Station? But let me tell you, the trains that leave from this place are really something to write home about. And my expectations, set fairly low by this uninspiring temporary departure point, were about to be absolutely blown away. Not only by this one train, but also what I'd end up learning about the unbelievable projects that they have running on the wider network right now. But before I step on board, I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is MyHeritage. I recently received my DNA test kit from MyHeritage, and I was really pleasantly surprised by how easy the entire process is. Just a quick swab of the cheek, stick it in the post, and within a few short weeks I would be discovering my genetic origins. In the meantime, I also tried out their new deep learning models that can bring your old family photos to life. And now, a few short weeks have passed, I've just had the notification from MyHeritage that my DNA results are out. Anything out of this one patch of land is going to be brand new information for me. Here goes, view DNA results. Ready to explore your ethnicity? Let's go. Thomas, you are... What? That is actually crazy. Scandinavian, 60%. So I'm 20% English. Italian, mamma mia. Catch me at the Feast of the Seven Fishes this Christmas. In general, the headline news is England not being in top place. That's actually wild. After you get your test results, you can also opt in or out to being put in contact with your DNA matches. This is a really cool feature for reconnecting with long-lost family members, safe in the knowledge that MyHeritage's strong privacy policy assures that your sensitive data will never be sold to a third party. If you also want to try out MyHeritage's leading family history tools or discover your own genetic origins, then you can use the link in the description, scan this QR code, or use discount code Thornton to get started and get free shipping on your DNA test kit, so you can find out if you've also secretly been a Norse god this entire time. After a quick sleep in my nearby hotel room, I was up bright and early to head back down and catch one of the first departures of the day. And soon you'll see why I was really hoping that we would make it to Ankara on time. I breezed right through the security check for luggage and the ticket and ID inspections. They can sometimes make it feel a little bit airliney, but here in Istanbul they were very quick, and to be honest, I'm absolutely on board with the whole better safe than sorry attitude. Once we were allowed up onto the platform, it was, the basic affair that you might have expected from outside. But actually, if you're talking about early morning vantage points from which to watch the sunrise over the city to the soundtrack of a few local commuter trains rumbling past, you could definitely do a lot worse than this place. And I knew that in just a moment we'd be leaving the concrete behind anyway. This was to be my first journey on Turkey's high-speed trains, which they call the YHT, and I'm about to be seriously impressed. This is business class, which is laid out with 2+1 seats, and my reservation was for the one, the solo traveller seat. A seat that was really comfortable, with a nice and fancy headrest and reclining back, plenty of legroom as well as a decent footrest, and this TV in the back of the seat in front of me, whose programming I will be critiquing in great detail shortly. But the crucial fact of this seat is that it was about to move 450 kilometers eastward very, very fast. With me sat in it, of course. This is our route today, from Istanbul all the way in the west, right the way over to the capital, Ankara, over the next 4.5 hours, stopping in just a few intermediate cities along the way. A journey that, as soon as I made myself at home in this pretty smart looking carriage and we began to roll out of Istanbul's suburbs exactly on time, I was suddenly really looking forward to. My first impression was just how clean this thing was. Like, the clean train smell was hitting me from all angles, much like the morning sun, which was doing a wonderful job of softly lighting our first nice views of the day as we left the big city behind in favour of running along this gorgeous coastline of the Sea of Marmara between Istanbul and Izmit. It was already a great way to start the day, but as the water's edge eventually gave way to some beautiful misty West Turkish scenery, that clean train smell was about to get even better by being replaced with coffee smell. I knew that there was a cafe car on board and I did still want to check that out later, but I was not expecting a food and drinks service to the actual seats. People came around with a trolley really soon after departure, offering a choice of tea or coffee and some basic snacks like packet sandwiches and muffins, which I didn't go for, but they were also included in the business class price. The staff were really professional and friendly and smartly dressed, and the whole thing definitely added a lot to the impression of this being a premium service. By the side of your seat, you have this European power socket and some USB ports for charging things, which is always a nice feature, but on some trains they don't actually work. Today they did, which was nice. And you'll also find a headphone jack and some controls for the seat back screen in front of you. This particular feature seems to be ignored by all of the locals, but as it was my first time here, I couldn't resist a quick flick through the channels, which included some kind of cartoons for Turkish children, this oddly relaxing blue screen, this complete failure, and my personal favourite, which I absolutely loved watching, which was the map where you could follow along with the journey. And then came a few channels named audio, which strangely were the only ones with no sound. But what I would guess therefore is that when the train driver does do an announcement, if your hearing isn't so good, you could actually rely on the headphones to listen to it. The best part though was the inclusion of a speedometer, which demonstrated how we were wasting absolutely no time in getting up to top speed today at 250 kilometers an hour. Mind-blowingly fast considering how comfortable and smooth the ride is. Now, this speed was actually almost a new personal best for trains that have been featured on this channel, but it is actually already about to get blown out of the water by another train that I've since been on from another country that you might not expect. So just a reminder to always feel free to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss that supersonic video when it comes out. One thing that people always like to know about when researching a trip like this is the bathroom situation, and again I thought that this train got it right. It was spacious and clean and no complaints from me. While I'm up, I did also go to check out the cafe car, which was really nice and initially very busy, but I was able to get a bar-style seat at the counter. They offered drinks and actually quite a big selection of snacks, all at very reasonable prices if you ask me, and I opted for second coffee for the equivalent of less than $2. And suddenly one of the tables opened up, so I was able to enjoy a little change of scenery from my seat while still enjoying my drink and the views. One thing that caught my eye out of the window and made me kind of curious was the sight of this big modern high-speed train station in a location where, to be frank with you, it looked like nobody actually lives. This made me really curious with just how far Turkey has taken the whole investing in train infrastructure thing lately. And after some research, I was pretty impressed to find out these YHTs go not only from Ankara to Istanbul, but also to Konya and Sivas, meaning that sites like this are probably not actually that uncommon in the western half of the country. And I also learned that they have thousands of kilometers more in development right now. Turkey recently celebrated its 100th year as an independent nation, so happy birthday, by the way. And one of their flagship projects for the anniversary was an investment of around $25 billion in the railways, in the hopes of becoming the go-to option for freight between Europe and Asia, which, yeah, I can imagine is a very lucrative place to position yourself in the market. But the fact that they're also investing so much in these trains is also shortening journey times massively for local residents. On the old mainline trains, this journey used to take almost twice as long as it does today. And even just this one line that I'm covering on this journey passes through cities with a combined population of over 20 million people. So it's hard to think of another corridor where investing in fast links like this is going to make people's lives better or take more traffic off of the congested highways. And going back to the aforementioned Haydarpaşa station, I can't imagine it being cheap to not only repair such a massive building, but also bring a station whose construction was literally ordered by a sultan of the Ottoman Empire 150 years ago up to the modern spec in terms of power supply and safety and so on. I mean, I bet the original architects didn't even foresee the need to have public Wi-Fi in that thing. So another shout out to them for not tearing it down in the end. All of this was really making me want to have another longer trip to Turkey someday so that I could come back and check off some more of these destinations. And it's absolutely a service that I would have no problem recommending that you use on your next trip to this beautiful country. But the real kicker is the ticket prices. On my hop across Turkey today, I was going all this way in first class for the equivalent of just $19. Less than 20 bucks to go 450 kilometers in first class on high speed is genuinely the best value ticket that I can ever remember buying, and that record is going to take some beating. The Turkish Railways website can be a little glitchy, but it does take foreign credit cards if you can get it to work, and I showed my ticket as a QR code on my phone to the very friendly ticket inspector. The rest of our journey was really quite rewarding and relaxing in terms of scenery, offering up an array of mountain and valley views as we sped through the Turkish countryside. Apparently, you go through a total of 33 tunnels on this route and cross 40 bridges and viaducts over various rivers. Soon enough, we begin to approach Ankara, with this beautiful metal tube having brought me from Istanbul at 8 AM to here at bang on 12:30. There we go! Very satisfied with the start to my day, I step out into Ankara's big and impressive new shiny station, but without too much time to look around, because the reason that I actually needed to come here was to transfer onto another train, and I really didn't want to miss it. This time, it's not 4 hours long, but 30. It's an overnight journey all the way across Turkey to its eastern border, and my video about why I did that and if I'd recommend it to you is actually already out now, so you can click here to watch that next. Thanks again, by the way, to MyHeritage for sponsoring this video and teaching me about my genetic origins. Don't forget to hit the link in the description for free shipping on your own DNA test kit, and I'll see you next time.